Hello, it's me, Zoe T from the Light Collective. Come on in here, get comfortable. Let's get started. The Light Collective, the Light Collective, the Light. And welcome back. How good it is to see you all again. I wanted to stop by and drop a word off for the beautiful people of the light. I was thinking, or should I say, remembering how important it is for us to prioritize our connection to the divine, our connection to the Most High, our connection to Source, our connection to our higher selves, our connection to our inner purpose. I've stated in videos prior to this one how that, quite frankly, should be of utmost importance to each of us as individuals, as soul beings. It should be our number one priority. In doing this and prioritizing the things that I've mentioned, we will be able to have a better chance of fulfilling what we're here to fulfill. I also was thinking, how programmed does a person have to be to accept a story handed to them by someone else, a story in areas that are crucial to a person's development, happiness, ascension, productivity? Hand you a story about your existence, hand you a story about your creator, hand you a story about your history. How programmed does a person have to be to accept what is handed to them in these areas as fact? My answer would be very, very, very programmed, highly programmed. If a person accepts a story that's just handed to them as fact. If we're looking at the stories around creation, existence, and so on, really, we can say they're theories. So as an individual yourself, I would challenge you to ask yourself, why would you believe someone else's theory over your own? Have you even took the time? Have you taken the time to come up with your own theory about the topics I mentioned? For example, the creators, existence, reality. Have you taken the time to find your own theory, come up with your own theory about it? And if not, then you are conceding to the theory of another. You are conceding to the theory and the opinion, really, of another person about a subject that is really important to your growth and development, to your purpose, beautiful people. So a person would have to be very programmed. And again, as I've said before in other videos, I have deep compassion for the people who are still programmed, who I have compassion for the people who are coming out of their programming, the people who aren't even programmed anymore, who still have to, deal with whatever they are dealing with, because becoming unprogrammed doesn't just stop the buck. The buck doesn't stop there. The work continues after reprogramming yourself. But I have compassion for the people who are still programmed, because I get how deep the programming is, how strong it is, how deep that rabbit hole goes, So because I recognize that the programming is deep, I like to get on here and encourage the beautiful people of the light to encourage others to start to look at these things just a little differently. Little differences lead to big results in a lot of cases. So it's our responsibility to decide if we want to go with someone else's theory about who we are, someone else's opinion about where we come from, someone else's theory or opinion about who and what the creators are. Do we choose that route, or do we choose the route that leads to truth and light which is your own discovery of said truth and light. It has to come from self. It has to come from self, first and foremost, beautiful people. It is far too precious of an insight to leave it in the hands of other people. It's far too precious of an insight to leave it in the hands of someone else's opinion. It's an insight that you have to get yourself. I'm going to play a clip from a show, from a series that I enjoy. On the occasion I want to watch something, I am the type of person who I don't watch too many things nowadays, unless it's usually if I do watch something, it'll be like a documentary, something where I can learn something from. But there are times where I just want to kind of watch something else. But even then, I prefer something that has like a moral to it, a moral, a deeper meaning, a deeper insight to it. So I'm going to play you guys a clip from this show, and I'll catch you on the other side of it. What good is it? Out there. How what? Space. Just space? We haven't been able to pinpoint it yet. It's taken a lot of power just to get this much. And you cut the station down about half. Well, I can't help that. Well, you know we can lose our sponsor. This is more important. More important than drive-in commercials? More important than paying the bills? Bills will be paid. Carol, I want you to see what I've done. The bills will be paid, Carol. Do you even care anything about your own family? Sure. But, see, that's a three-dimensional TV scanner. It's the same as a conventional television, except it shows the image in three dimensions. Height, width, depth, and it shows the sound you just heard in three dimensions. See, by scanning it three ways, I'm able to give it solidity. Sound static. It's formed out of microwaves. I know that it makes you angry when I ask you questions like this. What good is it? Well, it's interesting. You have spent thousands of dollars on transistors and circuits and cathode rays. You're just bleeding electricity out of that transmitter until there is nothing left of KXKDI but of just a feeble beep, and all you can say is it's interesting. Carol, it's more than interesting. It's important. Do you realize that every important change in the world for the last 30 years has come out of research in microwaves, radar, television, even the HMO? But what makes you think that you can discover anything? Who are you? Nobody. Nobody at all. But the secrets of the universe don't mind. They reveal themselves to nobodies who care. The universe reveals itself to nobodies who care. I thought that scene was profound. That was a scene from an episode of The Outer Limits, the original season of The Outer Limits. There's something special about the original when we're talking about things, and television series are no different in my view. I think the original is just always the best, and the original Outer Limits are good to me. They are really good to me. I like them. I enjoy them. I think that they're unique in the sense that they have a deeper moral to their episodes, similar to the Twilight Zone, the original, of course, again. And the Twilight Zone was actually also, I think, made around the same time. The original version of the Twilight Zone, I think, was also in the early 60s, 1960s, perhaps, maybe late 50s, if I had to guess. Nevertheless, I enjoy The Outer Limits because of the morals of their episodes, meaning, what's the meaning of what I'm watching? What am I walking away with? And I'm a firm believer that if we are intaking things, whether it be through our eardrums, our eyes, our nose, our mouths, that we should be getting something valuable out of it most of the time. I don't say that to say that you should be necessarily, just walking around with blindfolds and headphones on the entire time that you're in this realm. But at the same time, I think that there should be definitely a lot more nutritious intake than harmful intake or poisonous intake, for sure. That episode from the clip is an episode where what you see there is a husband and a wife. A husband and a wife, and they both they work at a radio station. And in this radio station, the wife was talking to another person. I think that the person prior to the scene that I showed you guys, she's talking to some other gentleman whom I think is probably the radio station host. And he informs her that they're running out of power, out of energy, because her husband is down in the other building. This is like still part of the radio station premises. He's down there doing something that's draining a lot of the power, and they're not able to transmit what they need to transmit because he's taking up too much of the power. So the scene that I showed you guys is essentially the wife going down to the other building on the radio station premise to go tell her husband, like, hey, what's going on? Like, you have to chill with the power usage because we can't get what we need to get out on the radio. So in that scene, you see her basically talking to him about, the power that he's using. And he tells her that he's discovered this three-dimensional being, and he's trying to figure out how he can communicate with this three-dimensional being. And like, he's trying to figure this out. And the wife is basically not understanding at all why this is of any kind of importance to him. And he tells her that it's interesting and important to him. And she proceeds to say, but who are you to think that you could discover anything? And he says, nobody. But the universe reveals itself to nobodies who care. Side note to the divine masculines out there, the beautiful, lovely gentlemen who watch this video, don't get you a wife like that. I'm not even gonna sit here and pretend that was an okay thing for her to say as the wife. Like, who are you to think that you could discover anything? Her legitimate question to her husband was, who are you to think that you could discover anything? And that's see, ma'am, I'm gonna need you to be a little bit more optimistic for your husband, at least. At least, I'm not saying, but man, I mean, what a statement she made. So, side note to the gentleman out there, get you a wife who won't say that to your face as you're actively trying to figure something out, saying, who are you to think that you're actually going to figure out what you're trying to figure? Anyway, I thought that was just a funny thing to say. Like, for them to work that into the screen, I'm like, dang. But he goes on to tell her that he's a nobody, and that the universe doesn't care about that. It doesn't care about what your title is, what your label is. And I thought that it was such a profound scene to me, because it really highlights exactly the truth, exactly what he said. And the idea that the programming has placed in a lot of our head is that we have to be of some sort of status to be able to have deep, profound insights to our own existence, for one, and for two, profound insights to this reality in which we live. First, the programming has led us to believe that we are only to receive the insights of people who have these statuses or these titles or a particular resume, rather than, is it something that we truly ourselves resonate with? This is what the programming has done. The programming has done this to where your own wife will say, well, who are you to think that you could discover anything? Because again, the programming has taught a lot of people that they not she said that to him as her husband. Imagine how she feels about herself. If she don't think her husband can discover anything, she definitely probably don't think she can. So the programming, and I thought that little clip that I showed you guys was so profound for so many different reasons, that just those couple minutes. And the simple fact that she says that, I thought was profound because it relates to today, how still there are unfortunately some people who still have that type of programming, not only to other people. For example, when you go and tell your friend or your family member that you have an idea, and the first thing that they do is sometimes they'll come and say, well, I don't think you could do that's a lot. That's going to be you going to do that? The disbelief, right? So sometimes it's not even about the other person, right? Having that program within them, right? And projecting it onto you, but also the individual most likely feels that same way about themselves. And so what that does is it eliminates any kind of pushback from what these people with the said status, what they are saying and what they are promoting, what they are speaking, what they are putting out. It limits any kind of pushback. It limits any questioning because they're the only ones who the programming told you can do it to begin with. The thing about it is that's not true. That is absolutely not true. Absolutely not true. There is no status title that you have to seek the Most High. You have to be able to take the time to prioritize that pursuit. That's about it. It's about that's the number one priority. That's pretty much but again, the programming has really convinced some people that, and again, this clip shows it beautifully, that if you're not a part of NASA, if you didn't go to this particular school, if you didn't graduate from college, if you didn't do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, then who are you to discover anything, including discover who you are, discover who and what you are, right? You see? So I thought that was interesting in that clip. And another thing that happens in that scene as it progresses, I didn't show, but she doubles down, the wife, and she proceeds to say, as he says, I'm no one, the universe doesn't care, I just needed to care. She doubles down and she says, well, they have big corporations and factories that take care of this already, that do this type of studying, that look into these things. And he says to her, those big factories can't compare essentially to his intimate, devoted study, essentially, is what he says. In a nutshell, he says it's something different, but it's like that's what he's saying in a nutshell. Like his intimate care, like it's not a money grab. It's not a big factory thing trying to make profits and this and that. There, it's a genuine, like, I want to do this. This is just me caring for free to do this, not a job. But this is, I care about this. And I thought that was profound as well, because it reminded me of the ridiculous and pathetic attempt to have AI replace the human intellect, the human being in any kind of way, and I thought that was interesting how that related to today. And it's funny how you look back on these, on when you have, this is how you have a good show or a good movie, if you could watch it way later since it was made and it can actually still have meaning and value to it. That's in my view how you gauge a good show or movie or content. That is, it's timeless, songs, so on. But that's how that episode starts. And that's like the beginning of the episode. In the episode, he ends up I'll let you guys go watch the rest of that episode if you want. You can stream The Outer Limits for free on Roku, on the Roku channel for free. Okay, so you can do that, and I recommend it. It's to me, I think it's a great series if you just want to kind of have something on and watch that actually might have some good value to it, information wise. And so I really, really, really loved that scene. So much compacted in that scene. We have to care. We have to care. We have to care about the Most High. We have to care about our existence. We have to care about our journeys. We have to care about the whys, the whos, the whats, especially in the area of the most beautiful thing that you could study, yourself. I wanted to share that clip with the beautiful people of the light, to double down on how I started this video. The simple fact that we have been handed things, we have been handed content, we have been handed folklore, tales, okay, stories. His story, a story of folklore, fairy tale. Those are all stories, right? Stories, theories, opinions. No, people are like, oh, well, I'm the author of so-and-so book. I wrote this book on, so, okay, that's great that you did that. Now, were you there though? Were you there though? And if you were there though, I need some sort of, I need proof that you were there though, and then, I might look at what you're providing me a little bit more, valid. I'll look at it like it's a little bit more valid, opposed to you just gonna say, that you, because if you weren't there, right, or if there's no supporting evidence, that is actual supporting evidence, not supporting evidence that you planted, but like actual supporting evidence. If there's no supporting evidence, then can a person really take that? And I just really, I don't, we shouldn't. We should not accept it. And the only reason why a lot of people have been accepting it is because of the programming. They've programmed, just like that clip shows, have programmed people to believe that they aren't even, who are you to discover anything, meaning even who you are, where you come from, who are you? That's how deep the programming goes. So I encourage you, the beautiful people of the light, the people watching this video, to wake up to the fact that if you did not discover it about yourself, then it's someone else's theory and opinion. So will you or will you not take the time to throw out the opinions of others, especially when it comes down to who you are, where you come from, who the Most High is, the reality in which we live, so on? Would you choose to throw out what they have given you and replace it with your own knowing? Your own knowing. Will you do it? I know yes? You said yes? You said yes? Oh, that's so great. It's awesome. I'm happy that you said yes. And that's all I have, beautiful people. Until next time, be safe. Take care. Ashe. The Light Collective. The Light Collective. The Light.